Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Robert Felix. He is the author of Not by Fire, but by Ice, a breakthrough book that is completely changing the way we understand climate and weather. He's also the author of Magnetic Reversals and Evolutionary Leaps, The True Origin of Species. He is the founder and owner of the famous website IceAgeNow.com, one of the top climate websites in the world. He also appeared on my show a year ago with Dr. Timothy Ball and Joe Dalio, which produced one of the most compelling climate shows, establishing a frame of reference for climate in the world that's been all over the world. It is my great pleasure today to invite Robert back to talk to us about Magnetic Reversals. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Robert Felix to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning, Kim. Thank you for having me on. I've been having fun with this. The IceAgeNow.com website is getting more and more hits every day. And now the new website, Evolutionary Leaps, is beginning to pick up traction, too.
Well, I thought we would talk about evolutionary leaps today because it's the thing that nobody's looking for. Dixie Lee Ray, a former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, had confided that her next book would be about magnetic reversals because they were so important. And yet you're the one who did it. Why did you write this book?
Well, I guess it was an accidental sort of thing to begin with, but as I was researching and writing my first book, Not by Fire, but by Ice, I kept noticing that magnetic reversals, they would just be mentioned in the literature, just in passing as it's sort of something that happened at the time, but it doesn't mean anything. But the more I read and the more I studied, the more I realized that evolutionary leaps, actually that the jumps in evolution appear to take place at geomagnetic reversals.
Explain what a geomagnetic reversal is. What is a magnetic reversal?
Well, a magnetic reversal, simply put, is a time when compasses would have pointed toward the Antarctic instead of toward the Arctic. And that has happened a lot more than anyone realizes. The scientists who study magnetic reversals figure that the Earth's magnetic field has probably been reversed for half of history. Now, I'm not talking about the Earth flipping upside down. I mean, some people talk about pole reversals, and they're talking about the Earth flipping upside down. I don't know that it does that or not. I don't think it does, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Thank you for explaining it. Clarified a little bit more, though. How come the magnetic reversal would happen?
Nobody knows, actually. There's talk about what's happening in the core of the Earth, and then it's made of iron, and that various things happen to it there. I'm going out on a limb here, though, is because I think those magnetic reversals come as a result of something called precession of the equinoxes.
Explain it.
And okay, our Earth is not. If you look at our planet from space, it's not straight up and down. It doesn't point straight north and south in relation to the solar system. It's actually tilted about 23.5 degrees, and that tilt changes. It fluctuates up and down a little bit, but the other thing is that our axis of rotation, which is what the axis that our Earth planets around, that our Earth rotates around, is constantly moving. Right now, if you could put a stick all the way through the Earth at its axis of rotation, that stick would point toward the star Polaris, toward the North Star. But it slowly turns, and so 11,500 years from now, our axis of rotation will be pointing toward the star Vega, and 11,500 years from then, it'll be back pointing toward the star Polaris again. So if you've ever watched a top as it spins, you'll notice that the top never stands straight up and down.
Right.
And this is the same sort of thing. And the top also precesses is that it's on a tilt, but it's that axis of rotation slowly turns. Same thing with the Earth. Well, what I see, and there's controversy on this, but what I see is that the Earth's magnetic field makes what is called a magnetic excursion about every 11,500 years at the half point of this precession of the equinoxes. So there's something there, I think, that triggers these magnetic reversals. Is that our magnetic field strength changes in sync with that same precession of the equinoxes. It goes down and down and down, and I think that the reversals or excursions, depending on how you want to define them, take place at the same time, and that's when the evolutionary leaps and extinctions take place.
You said in Chapter 3 of your book, mass extinctions have been the rule rather than the exception for the 3.5 billion years that life has existed on this planet. Almost identical. Each extinction was abrupt, each was extensive, and each was caused by some temporary, unexplainable event. What could that temporary, unexplainable event have been?
That event is what I think is the magnetic reversal. Now, the fallback position, it seems like for science here for many, many years, is when they can't explain something, they blame it on a meteor or a comet. I mean, they blame the dinosaur extinction on a meteor, and they found that Chicxulub crater down in the Gulf of Mexico that they think was created by a meteor. I don't think so. I think that was created by underwater explosion created by a magnetic reversal. But they blame 248 million years ago. They blame the Great Permian extinction on a meteor, and they blame the Siberian traps, which was a huge lava flow on a meteor, and yet they don't take into account the magnetic reversals. And more recently, and this is one that I talk a lot about in the book, but more recently, just 12,000 years ago, now the latest thing is to blame the death of the mammoths and the mastodons and the saber-toothed cats and the great dire wolf and the short-faced bear. Now the thing is to blame that on a meteor explosion. And I'm saying, no way. This is a magnetic reversal because about 12,000 years ago, when these animals went extinct, that's when we had the Gothenburg magnetic reversal.
Do you think it's a deliberate attempt not to address this phenomenon because we don't understand it? What do you think is the reason it's not being identified as a cause?
No, I don't think it's a deliberate attempt. I just don't think we've reached that point yet. It's still being studied. But I just look at this. I think of Charles Darwin. He told us that evolution is slow and stately and orderly. And I think evolution works the same way as the extinctions that you just mentioned, that it comes along very quickly. And so I'm hoping that today we can talk about the true origin of species being magnetic reversals. And I hope that I can be able to show you that they occur in a dependable, predictable cycle. And the other thing, a couple of other things, in the book, I show that radioactive materials pour onto our planet. They rain onto our planet in sync with magnetic reversals. I think those are what lead to the evolutionary leaps or to mutations. And another thing I really want to talk about is the Carolina Bays.
Talk about the Carolina Bays, because I know you're very excited about those.
I am.
I remember you talking about that last year. I want you to hit that again.
Okay, yeah. When I wrote the book, I thought the idea of Carolina Bays was going to be so exciting to people because the Carolina Bays are something that we have in the United States.